we talk on an aspect of spirituality that people generally avoid touching because it is touchy matter perhaps, or it is a unpleasant matter perhaps, and that is, one comes to yoga, one comes to spiritual practice, one comes to sadhana to become free, to become liberated, to improve one's life, and very often people use that in service of their mindsets. They use that in service of their limitations. They make their sadhana, or they make their spiritual practice, they make their yoga into the biggest possible limitation. Now, of course, if you're in a good parampara with a good teacher, that won't happen, because you will be hauled up by the ear and set back on track. But nowadays, teachers are, as I said, mendicants. Most of them are with the begging bowl of dakshinas. So telling unpleasant truths to students and disciples is now seems contraindicated. There are very few people, because that will shut down the much needed and valuable flow of donations. So people tend to be very diplomatic and very nice and very sweet and very accommodating. And so sometimes the teacher has to kick ass. The guru has to say very undiplomatic and very harsh things. They have to say, you're deluding yourself, or even deeper than, you're deluding yourself, or even deeper than that, when are you going to take your head out of your ass? Like, it has to be said. And that today, if you say, then immediately the disciples evaporate, and the disciples evaporating is not a catastrophe, donations evaporating is. so, so the donation protection becomes the core competence of these so-called spiritual organizations. So this going around with this mendicant's bowl is a very disgusting thing. There were certain classical safeguards for that. For instance, one of the safeguards was this whole difficult issue of how does one give money back to the teacher? Or how does the teacher get supported? How does the teaching get supported? So the classical thing was, if you're a disciple, not if you're a student. You see, there is a difference between being a shishya and being a vidyarthi. Acharya vidyarthi is very good, no doubt, wonderful. But Guru Shishya means that now the energy connection is there, the karmic connection is there, and certain responsibility has been taken on both sides. The teacher has a certain responsibility, the Guru has a certain responsibility. So if you're a Shishya, if you're a disciple, then the rule in yoga was, you give between 5 to 10% of your income after your expenses are taken care of, because the teacher should not become dependent on any one rich disciple, because he who pays the piper calls the tune. That is a universal truth. So if the organization and the teacher becomes dependent on one or two people, then they will set the agenda. And 5 to 10% is not crippling. 5 to 10% after expenses is not crippling on the part of the student. So the student doesn't need to feel. Now, I have seen with my own eyes, and I have experiences in my own life and with my own guru, where people come, and they have come because they've been shattered, because where they used to be, the people have just said that family property that you have, you gift all of that to me. And in many places, the entry barrier for being a member in residence is sell off all your assets and then donate it, or 65% of your monthly income. I'm not making all this up. These are all, I do not know how they reconcile all this with yoga, because these are not the traditional rules. These are not the rules. But these were the rules the 5 to 10% rule was formulated so that the teacher never had to hold back from articulating truth, and the student never had to feel, or the shishya, the disciple, never had to feel exploited. So there was always an extraordinary level of wisdom. Today when people realize, oh, these people are devoted to me, wow, now I can milk them, now I can exploit them, then that issue comes up. But if you have lost your freedom to haul up, if you have lost your freedom to haul up your students or your disciples, even if they are your students, as a guru you still have the right. Vidyarthi bhi hain to bhi you can say. It's not like only to shishyas you can say, though the shishyas normally get the roughest side of the tongue, that is true. The shishyas normally get the most unpleasant side of the guru, because the guru, you have accepted that this person can help me, so that person then has the right to do what they do. But if you have lost that freedom, then something has gone wrong. Because it is human nature to delude oneself. It is human nature to ascribe attainments and achievements to oneself. And it is even more deeper human nature to never take personal responsibility and shift the blame onto somebody else. Now all these pitfalls, the guru has gone through all of them himself. So he knows very well when he sees it happening, he knows very well what is going on, and he can say. But like I said, today we have come to this whole, because of the money involved, and there is really good money involved, because of the money involved, there is this whole omerta around it. There is whole acceptable silence about bad behavior, and then there is this whole new cage business of people's feelings are sacrosanct. No, feelings are not sacrosanct. Feelings are usually 100% an indication that something has gone wrong somewhere. If you are responding from a hurt feeling place, then you shouldn't come to a guru. Are you coming to the guru so that your feelings are massaged? Or are you coming to grow? Are you coming for the truth? Truth is always more important than feelings. The amount of abuse I got for saying that one sentence, truth is more important than feelings. So I realized that it's actually very important to articulate it. Because if this much butt hurt can happen in people, if this much people can get agitated over a simple statement of fact and truth, then it needs to be said. See, this is a matter of basic self-delusion or basic illusion. Without that, life becomes very unpleasant. We need our illusions to some extent. Emerson had written one poem in which he said, the Chama who will be believed by man who thirsts to be deceived. There is a deep yearning within ourselves to be deceived. That is Maya. Yeah, there is it should be, and I am afraid yoga is not about should. All shoulds are removed in yoga. It is about could. You could be, but there is no should anymore, because should becomes an imposition. Should becomes a limitation. Should becomes a boundary. Should becomes an expectation. And all those things are not there in yoga. So the should word actually does not. But the deepest problem is not that. The deepest problem is you go into a spiritual process, you actually get little good at it, you actually grow and you develop, and then you go into some kind of derailment, or you go into some kind of displacement, or you go into some kind of, let me use my spiritual process in furtherance of my selfish agendas. I am regarded by people as a spiritual person, or that enables me to dominate them. Some people don't financially exploit, but they emotionally exploit. They like to be in that state of emotional dominance over other people, or they like to just play with people's thoughts and behaviors and expectations. And there are so many traps. How can I even begin to enumerate all the numbers of traps that one can fall into? But the greatest trap is what I had spoken about 2 weeks later, that we start creating imaginary worlds and then living in them. We create mental formations. You see, this is the problem. Every time we have a thought, it is in mystical terms or in spiritual terms, it is called a formation. It is a certain energy vibration is sent out into the world. Because you are not that strong, because you don't have that much Shakti, because you don't have that much intent, you don't have that much will, that formation is just like any other formation. It wanders around like a vagrant, and then somebody else picks it up, and then they are acting out your desire or your wish. What you articulated or what you wish, somebody else is acting out because they don't have the strength. But normally that doesn't make too much of a problem. Anyways, 90-95% of our thoughts are all, recycled, miserably recycled again and again. They come from outside. When you're a little bit advanced in yoga, you can actually feel the thoughts trying to enter your mental, your manomaya kosha. You can actually feel the thoughts trying to enter your mind. You can feel the thoughts trying to take hold of you and trying to coax you to identify with them. All that is well understood. Yogis don't, which is why the really heightened level yogi, his mind is turned on and off as needed. When needed for the purpose of functioning in the world, the mind is turned off, otherwise the mind is switched off. And unless there are thoughts, it is the accumulation and conglomeration and identification with thoughts that create what people think is the mind. Most people don't even have a mind, they just have accumulation of thoughts. It's very difficult. In fact, many mystical places, they actually teach you to create an authentic identity of your own self, to create an authentic mind of your own self. You don't even have that because it's all second hand, third hand, 33rd hand, You just pick it up and you just identify with things that are socially validated or socially valuable or things like that. All those are standard traps, all those are normal traps. The real issue comes when you are actually succeeding, when you're actually getting somewhere, and then you start thinking, oh wow, I've done it. That is when hypocrisy begins. It is no longer necessary for me. Now I am at such a level that the rules don't apply to me. The discipline doesn't apply to me. That is only for the people behind me. That is only for the less than, because I am more than. This creation of an imaginary world in which you are perfect is the strongest problem. Because if you are doing serious sadhana, you do tend to start behaving yourself. Once you understand the karmic law of repercussions, then you do start to behave yourself, and you do start to live and act in a more socially responsible, a more emotionally responsible, more compassionate way. And that can then become the trap. That goes to your head. I am now such a good person. Let me congratulate myself, I am so much more evolved than all these unconscious, vile, despicable people I am forced to call my family or my friends or my, that sense of moral superiority. Oh, it is so pleasant. That sense of I am better than and the others are less than because I am evolved. That's it. Very soon they are creating a perfect world, a perfect internal world, and that is impregnable. Because now there is little Shakti, it actually becomes a mental formation, and they start living in that mental formation. And in that mental formation, they have progress in their sadhana and they become attained, enlightened and everything, and it is purely a delusion. You have not got anywhere. You have created an internal dimension, which is quite an achievement, by the way. I'm not knocking it. You have created a perfect internal world and you have mistaken that for reality. It is as if J.R.R. Tolkien said that Middle Earth is actually the reality, and that the actual human loka does not exist. And many people do that. But this unpleasant way in which people use their spirituality to award themselves medals and to avoid difficulty. I am now too spiritual for all that. That is all mundane stuff. Some people, this is unfortunately very common. Some people have little jagran. Then, of course, instead of going to a teacher, they go to the internet. Like, which is like the Asura Prakriti incarnate. That is the best way to derail oneself. They go to the internet and they are convinced. If we are not enlightened, we are just one step away from it. And my family, unfortunately, ignorant, stupid, uneducated bumpkins, they can't see how fortunate they are that a holy person like me has descended amongst them. I'm not making this up. This is one of the commonest tropes. This is one of the commonest. No, I can't. So, they stop working and they expect to be looked fitted, and just generally seva bhavna should pour out from everybody around them and they should be accepted as somebody great. It is insane. They just abandon every responsibility because now I am spiritual. If you are that spiritual and you are feeling that intensely the call, then why are you still in the family circumstance? Go to the Himalayas or go and live on the Girivalam road. No, they don't want actual discomfort. They want the reputation of being spiritual with none of the difficulties entailed with it. And there is the core. To be spiritual is not what most people are seeking. They want the reputation of being spiritual. They would want to be looked at with admiration. That person is doing this process. It has really changed the person. They are really glowing now. They are like this, or they are deep into that. They go regularly. I actually had somebody once introduce themselves to me within 5 minutes. I am a very pious person. And I'm like, okay, thank you. That means I don't need to interact with you, because I am not a pious person. I am a very wild person. I'm a very wild. I don't like piety. See, don't make spirituality, which is the path and process of freedom, into one more cage. Don't make it into one more way in which you entangle yourself. Unfortunately, so many spiritual places are cults. They are ways in which you have to buy into all that is given to you, all the givens, that this is so, this person is an avatar, this is the reality, this is the truth. Until you buy into everything, until you participate in the collective group think, and there are so many studies have been done about this. There are certain universal standard ways in which a cult can be created. It's very simple behavioral manipulation. So to create a cult, you don't need any spirituality. In fact, it's a hindrance. It is just simple behavioral manipulation. You can create that. Since that seems to be the advertisement for spirituality, when people start doing all those self-serving behaviors in their own life, they think, what is wrong with it? That's what the larger society is rewarding, and that's what the larger society is acknowledging as. But spirituality is about freedom. I recently said something, and that boy Vinay KR, he had gone to many places, and he always disliked this thing of asking for dissolution into the body of the organization, that you wipe yourself into becoming nothing and you just become, and he's like, what is this? Be in the presence, I'll be present with myself in my own home. and he liked something I said, in that I just said that to me the test of the guru and the power of the guru is always, are his people authentically themselves? Are they unique and original specimens, or are they all imitations of him? Because if they are imitations of him, that is not yoga. In authentic spiritual transmission, you never make the person like you, the person becomes more like them. When you try to pretend to be spiritual, you are again becoming not yourself. If you are a hot-tempered person, you accept that you are a hot-tempered person. And you try to fix it if it needs fixing. If not, let it be. What is the big deal? I have many parents tell me, my teenage son or my 20-year-old son, he watches pornography. And I'm like, at this age, if he won't watch, when will he watch? Let him watch at this age. If he's still watching when he's 50, 55, then we have trouble. And they are completely shocked. They are completely shocked and horrified. You're a yogi, you should not talk like this. I'm like, my being a yogi is not going to stop him. He is going to find it. he, he is watching porn instead of going out and molesting somebody. It's not the best thing, but it's a reasonable solution given the circumstances and given the reality of our country. This horrifies them. How can you say you should actually lecture him? I'll say, then he'll just consider me to be an old fart like you. I said, hello, what makes you think your daughter is not watching? That, of course, is the most harrowing thing, I'm just saying, that why? Because I am a yogi, I should become an innocent of what? I should become ignorant of the reality of pornography. It is one of the recession-proof industries in the world. Pornography, drugs and weapons are the 3 recession-proof industries. In fact, when the economy is in recession, all 3 goes up. As a yogi, I am supposed to be constantly facing reality. I am not supposed to blind myself out of it from some kind of moralistic. This is the other thing. People think that the more moralistic you become, moral scold actually, where you sit in judgment over everybody because they are behaving so badly, and to sit in judgment over everybody else. I'm not saying don't be judgmental. I'm saying we are not judgmental enough, but don't be moralistic. Are you vegetarian? Are you celibate? These are much more important things. Why does he write on movies? He does reviews on movies. He cannot be a yogi. Arey Baba, before I became a yogi, I love movies. I still love movies, yeah. Because I'm a yogi, what? Now I'm not supposed. You see, this is the nature of the game. The minute you say I am doing yoga, a certain a cage of expectations descends upon you. This is permissible, this is not permissible. I'm like, how is this yoga? Yoga is like, everything is permissible. And anyways, I'm more Aghora type. The minute I hear the word should, I go up in flames, No shoulds. Nobody is going to tell me should. What should set us free becomes the most subtle trap, especially if it gives you a lot of social validation. Because when you calm down and you're doing some kind of yoga, you do improve as a human being because you have greater emotional resilience, you have more insight, you become more helpful. Many improvements are there. You get tremendous social validation without breaking through completely, without finishing in the karma, without finishing and bringing the mind to stillness. You still have all your frustrated hopes, dreams, desires, but now you are spiritual. So you cannot concede that. Even for saying that it's not like I have any perverted pleasures, I have very simple pleasures, even that gets people upset. Because if you're a yogi, then pleasure and you should be enemies. Pleasure is like the alien, it is hunting you down on your spaceship. Where did people get such ideas is what I wonder. Ananda, the whole point of yoga is ananda, bliss. Transcendent bliss, happiness beyond anything that you can experience, that you can comprehend. I saw something in the Hasidic form, Jewish school of mysticism, the Hasidims. One of their formulations I like so much, they said that on the day of judgment, you will be held to account for every legitimate pleasure that you could have enjoyed but you did not. I'm like, yeah, my sort of people. Why do you have to live in this constipated manner? Why do you have to live in this whole scrunched up, restricted manner and think that you are progressing? I don't understand this. Where did people get these ideas? Where did people get these ideas? Well, it's the culture, I suppose, and that is a larger context, but that self-delusion, using your sadhana to deepen your self-delusion, using your sadhana to further your personal agendas. You're not good for anything, so you become a spiritual person. You have failed in everything else in life, so you become a spiritual person. Now, certain people, it is true. Somebody like Ramana Maharishi, no matter what he tried, he would never be allowed. This is the only thing. Me too. No matter what I tried, this is the only thing I would be allowed to flourish in. Because there is certain Rinanubandhan connected with people. There is certain outflow that must come from me, and it will all get dissipated if I do other things too much. I'm not saying that I'm like Ramana Maharishi. I'm just using as a, he had such horrible karma, people don't know. There was a time when he had only one loincloth and that was battered, and he used to use a thorn as a needle and he would repair it. People don't see all that. They see only the pictures when towards the end of his life he's sitting on the tiger skin in the ashram. They don't see the time when he was that desperately poor. And at that time he was still Ramana Maharishi, but nobody gave a hang at that time. Do not start using your sadhana to get deeper into the daldal. That is what the quicksand. Why is this allergy to truth so deep-seated? And it works both ways. False humility is one of the biggest problems in spirituality. People are actually growing, people are actually attaining, but because now there is an expectation, you must be humble. So what they really have attained, even that they won't. On the other hand, the delusional claims of attainment are way too common. Many people claim. So it's a very fine balance. How not to boast, but at the same time not to run oneself down, not to lie. If you have attained, you have attained. If you have come to a certain stage, you have come to a certain stage. And to say that is not so out of some social expectation that I must be humble because I am spiritual, that is also an equally, in fact in many ways that's worse than claiming that you have, because if you really don't have any Shakti in you, any genuine yogi can see that. But if you have Shakti in you and you're pretending, oh, मैं तो तुच्छ हूँ, मैं तो वामन हूँ, I am nothing, मैं तो आपके चरणों के धूल, all that crap, all that nonsense, belittling. It's amazing to see that people have enough troubles in life and then they will make their yoga into one more trouble. They will use their yoga to deepen their personality instead of melting it. Or rather, I should say their personalities, because nobody has only one. So, the schizophrenia is multiplied 1,000-fold. Usually, all this happens because there is no parampara. If you are in a real parampara with a real guru or even a real mentor, forget guru, just somebody senior enough who's a real mentor, you will be brought back on track immediately. Those places where, because if you do that, if you harshly intervene or you just drag that person back onto the path, then the person will go and then their vital donations will go. It is those places where the trouble starts. Or those people who feel, I am already so much advanced on the path, I don't need a guru. These people who keep blabbering about the inner guru, usually Westerners, they have a huge problem about a physical person being a guru. This blather about the inner guru, do you have any idea the magnitude of effort it takes to activate that inner guide? Most people talking about the inner guru, it is very obvious they have no clue. Because the people who really have the inner guru, they normally have a physical guru also. They normally have somebody who has activated them, guided them, helped them. They are not going to start talking about there is no need for the inner guru. Again, it all comes down to that. It all comes down to, are you going to use your sadhana to evolve, or are you going to use your sadhana to just further get embedded within yourself? Within your limited self, that is not your. There's such, it's quite frustrating actually. It's quite frustrating sometimes because you see somebody who's been doing really well and then that upsurge of ahankar comes up, that upsurge of ego comes up. Now that is well understood. When the Shakti moves in you and certain magnitude of achievement has happened, certain magnitude of realization has happened, it is quite normal to feel, yes, I will stand my ground. If it is genuine, there will be no issue, but which is why you need, if not a teacher, at least you need to have a community of people. You need Guru Bhais, you need people who can tell you, look, you're going off track. But most people are Swayambhu, no? They are born miraculously enlightened and there is nobody who compares to them. There is nobody who is equal to them in their attainments or their realizations, and then you have scandal after scandal break out. Because there was nobody around the teacher or there was nobody around the people to just tell them, okay, this is not something that is very good. Okay, that is the problem of the organization, that is the problem of the teacher. What is your problem? Why are you using your sadhana to get more entangled with your own limited personality, which anyway is going to last only 70, 80 years? Why are you enshrining your personality and making it into some kind of god? Which is why when people say we want to learn yoga and all that, I am like, okay. And people start immediately, they start calling you Guru and Gurudev, and I'm like, hold on. You don't know what you're saying. You don't know the sheer importance of that word. To be a Shishya is not easy. The responsibility that entails, you have no comprehension, which is why you're using it so easily. If you knew, you would take some time, think about it. Because, like I said, I've said this many times, but it is something worth saying. To have a guru today is like having, it's like a checklist of, lifestyle checklist, Guru check, spiritual process check, I am disciple check, like, or some people it's even worse than that. It's like it's the most up to date organic fashion accessory, the guru. You're you call everybody to see the new painting that has come in the house. Instead of that, you call everybody to see the new guru that you have paloed and posod, or like an exotic pet. I know this is going to get me into trouble. I don't care. It's the truth. And it all begins with sincerity. That is the most ghastly thing. The English language has one extraordinary saying: the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And in spirituality, I think it should be branded on people, that good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. It is too true. It is too true. Anyways, don't make your spiritual process into yet another limitation. And please be in some kind of authentic sadhana, with some kind of authentic parampara, with some kind of authentic mentors. Then 95% of this problem dissolves immediately. Yeah? Sarvam Shome.